CCI route to reality. So today we are going to discuss about for the switch ports. What are the ports that we have in under switch, and how we are going to connect the device, and what are the configuration that we should perform before going to connect any of the device, and what are the types of those ports that in real scenarios we have the normal switch. If I'm talking about the normal switches, access switches, okay, so in access switches, sometime that we are directly connected the laptop access point, and also we are going to connect some server if we have, like, in that is not big deployment, we have DSW or other switches as well. So if that is not there, so in like small offices, we always prefer to be connecting the access switch also to connect the server. So what configuration that we should perform to connect any of the server, because of the inside security, or from outside security, that we would require firewall or any L3 device in between. But in inside, how we can mitigate those any kind of attack or anything on the switches. So like I'll show you on with practical as well, and I'll also explain for the switches how it looks like when we'll connect, or how it is. So let me just go on the uh, practical. Okay, so here I have taken for one of the switch. Okay, I logged in with this simulator. So here I'll take it out the access for this switch. Okay, I have taken the access via SSH. So here we can verify for the SSH. Okay. So since SSH is disabled, so it got an access from the Eve directly. So we can also, if we want to enable the SSH, like we got an console access, but if we want to take it out the access, we can enable it. That's different. Okay, so let me show you for the interfaces. So here we have the command, so IP interface view. So here we can verify the which interface that we have for this particular switch. Okay, so now it is verified. Now we have the four interfaces on this switch. All are the Ethernet port. Oh, okay, and there is no configuration that we have in this particular switch. Okay, and then we can just check it out, we can put it out. So interface status, so this is the command that it will show what are the status for this particular interface. Okay, which VLAN that is, or how it is. So basically, when the VLAN concept that we are talking about, so always like VLAN is kind of segregated broadcast domain. What is broadcast domain? Like, if in a switch we have the port, okay, and two port that we have connected our laptop, or any user is connected with two laptop in two port 2 and port 3, and we have two port is 0 by 0 and 0 by 1. So here we have connected one of our sales team, okay, and one of our finance team. Okay, so let me do one thing to make it more clear for you. Just a second, let me do one thing. The 0/0 description sales plus. Okay, so now what I did, I have configured these interfaces with the, I have just given the description. Okay, so let me show you the description. See, so here I have four port. Okay, so all port like is 0 by 0, which is belongs for sales team, is 0 by 1, that is belongs for finance team, is 0 by 2, that is our LAN user. Okay, and 0 by 3, that is belongs for server. So it means like all one of the switch has divided with the divided by four partition here, we can say. Okay, so if like we here, if we will see for all ports, so IP interface brief, so interface status. Okay, so if you can see all four port are belong to the same VLAN. Okay, so it means all the user, okay, all are which are connected on this particular port, they can communicate to each other. It means if sales want to access the server, so they can access the server. Sales want to talk with any LAN user, they can talk with the LAN user. Okay, because they are belongs with the same VLAN. Okay, so now if we want to block it the same communication inside the LAN, so what we would require to do, we need to put it the every like server need to be put it on the different VLAN LAN user, that if you want to block the communication with sales or finance, so we should put it with the different VLAN. Okay, so once we will put it out on the different VLAN, so it will stop to communicate with each other. Okay, so it mean what happened, like if I want the communication, so what we would require, we would require a L3 device. L3 device means whatever the gateway that we would have for this particular device, so it will go on the gateway, then gateway as a L3 device will reroute again and then forward towards the server or anywhere that the destination that we put it. Okay, so this is all about, will not go on the deep for that part, but today as we selected for only the discussion on the interfaces, but you can just go through with the same channel CCI route to reality, you will found how the connectivity is for L3 communication with the VLAN. Okay, so we have the videos for that. So now, okay, so these are the, let us see which port, what type of port it is or how it is. Okay, so I'll put it, so interface, so any of the interface I'll select 0 by 0. So this is the port. Okay, so this port is SIM sub line protocol. This is the hardware. This is the MTU. Keep alive. So all the detail, whatever that we have, so we will get it out. Any of the error packet, any how many packet that we have, everything that we will get it out here. Okay. So let me do one thing. Interface at 0 by 0. Okay. And then okay, let me show you one thing. So interface. See, so these are the like trunk. What is the means of the trunk? Okay, so basically the trunk is, let me show you. Okay, these are the two switches. Okay, let me draw that. Okay, so here let me put it, because we have only four port here on the switch, we can add it, but not required. Let me delete these two. Okay, and okay, let me use this only three because we'll connect the cable as well. So here we have, okay, so this is the switch. Okay, this switch, and we have one more switch. Okay, So here we have connected the devices on this switch. Okay, this is connected on this switch. Okay, okay, fine. So these are the switches, these are the devices. Okay, this could be the laptop, server, anything that we can consider. But let me do one thing. Let me take it out one of the server behalf of this. Okay, note. Okay, let me take it out any of the servers. Okay, okay. This is the server that I have taken. So this server is also connected here, and here we have connected these devices. So now the devices are standalone. Okay, there is no connectivity between switch 1 and switch 2. Correct? So now, okay, let me do one thing. Now we'll see. Let me put it here. Sales. Yes. VLAN. Okay, these are the devices. Okay, in the same way that we have the other end also. Sales. LAN. And the other one that we have the server. Okay, so this is our server. Mhm. Mm. Let me connect the cables. 0 by 0 it is connected. 0 by 1 it is connected. Third one is this 0 by 2. 0 by 3. Okay. Okay, fine. So now let me start it both switch 1 and switch 2. So in our design, what we have three port which is connected with one of the LAN that is belongs for sales. The second that we have belongs for the finance. The third we have the LAN. So in LAN there could be the 100 plus user, 200 user. Okay, there could be the anything. But in the other pair that what we have sales R9, and one of the that we have the LAN and the server. So how port works and what need to be configured and what security that we have to think about before going to design this kind of scenarios. So let me tell you, let me do one thing. Let me take it out the access for this switch. Okay, I have taken here the access for switch. Okay, switch 1, and let me also take it out for switch 2. Okay, let me open switch 1 here. Adjust it to the size. It's fine. Okay. So first of all, let me show you the port. So IP interface brief. Now all are port up. Okay. And so interface status. So these ports are connected, and here you can see E0 by 3 that it is showing a trunk port. Okay, so let me clear the config so that it would be also the default port that we have. So let me do that on I'll explain what is the means of this trunk port. E0 by 3. Mhm. So okay, wait. So interface status. Okay, still it is showing trunk. Let me just check it here. Because it is negotiating from this interface 0 did we did for okay no such code mode trunk. So interface status see now this port is in E0 by 3 connected. Okay, so but still it is showing on the trunk. Okay, let me check. So run interface. Yes. We can check the config here. Why it is showing in the trunk? Okay, but still it is in. There is no configuration that we can see. But still here it is showing as a trunk. What is the status here? Okay, maybe that's a default behavior, but it should not be like that. Let me just check why it is showing this. Let me check the config here. So run interface E0 by 3. Okay, there is no configuration on the interface, but still it is showing on the trunk. So let me do one thing. Let me forcefully make it on the VLAN 1 switchport mode. Let me make it the access port. Switchport access VLAN 1. Okay, exit. Same, let me do here. Interface A0 by 0 switchport mode access. Forcefully, I'm just making this port as a access port. Okay, so interface. Yeah. Okay. See. So now this is also let me also see the status here. See. Now this switches belongs. See, it was earlier as a trunk port. Okay. I'll show you. See. So why like why trunk port is here? Because of if we want to communication with the different VLAN. Okay, different VLAN in the sense like this communicate all are part of the same VLAN here now. Okay, so in the both switches we have the same VLAN, and if I'm just going to put it out my server which is connected E0 by 0. Okay, let me just do that. The server is connected by this interface. Okay, server. So I don't want to anyone can communicate with the my server, only the user which is belongs with the LAN that communicate with the server. So what I can do, I'll make it the LAN user with the same VLAN. Okay, and the server, so the communication from the LAN to server will happen. But in real scenario we are not doing such a things. What we are doing, the LAN user will go with the L3. LAN would be on the different VLAN, server will be on the different VLAN. Okay, so the LAN user will hit on the gateway, and the gateway will then whatever the policy that we will put it out on the gateway device. It could be L3 any of the L3 device, router, switches, firewall. Okay, so then what are the policy or configuration ACLs we have performed that, then as per the policy the line user will access the server. But if like in this scenario we have directly connected with the switch. Okay, both switches. So if like we want to communicate, so we should have to put it in the same VLAN for the both the LAN or server. So default port that we have, these are the access port. These are the access port. As you can see that I made it the x-axis. So that belongs for the VLAN 1 only. Okay. So we have two types of port now here. One is the access port and the second is the trunk port. Okay. Trunk port means like trunk always will formed between two switches. Okay, there could be the multiple switches, but the connectivity here we have with the two switches. So the trunk will form with the two switches with on the interfaces, which is connected with the E0 by 3 and E0 by 0. So what are the configuration that we have to put it out for the trunk? So let me tell you, and then I'll tell you what is the requirement for the trunk port. Okay, so here interface, we will just select the interface. Okay, so switch port mode trunk. Okay, command rejected, trunk encapsulation auto cannot be node. Okay, trunk exclusion. Okay, switch port mode trunk, uh, support move trunk. Okay, but it is not taking the command. Okay, because of seeing whose trunk encapsulation is auto cannot be configured. Okay, so here we have to perform the we have to put it out the dot one like we have two type of like while forming the trunk, we have two things to form the trunk. Like I'll show you for that. Okay, which kind of trunk is interface trunk? Do we have any config on that? Nothing that we have. Okay, interface E0 by 3. Okay, so the configuration that for the trunk, so like it was showing the error for encapsulation. So what we can do that we can just put it out the as an encapsulation on this while configuring this. So sysport mode trunk, that is the first command, but here it is asking for the encapsulation. So sysport trunk encapsulation, like here we will have the ISL and dot one q. So this is basically ISL trunking encapsulation. This is for the interfaces only that we have this. So there's a two mechanism that we can perform the trunk. So here I'll use dot one q. Then we have the command switch port mode trunk. So it will enable the trunk on this particular device. Okay, on this particular port. And then whatever the VLAN that we want to be allow on this particular trunk, that we can allow. Okay, so what this means, like sales R4 device belongs for different VLAN, R5 belongs for different VLAN, R6 belong for different VLAN. Okay, so if we don't want to come, we don't want any data on this particular interface which can be travel towards this switch 2. Okay, so what we can do, like we have R4 with the sales VLAN, finance VLAN or LAN VLAN. So let us take it out. The R4 is VLAN 4, R5 is VLAN 5, and R6 is VLAN 6. Okay, so we don't want R6 to be communicate via this link. Okay, LAN user will not communicate towards this link. There would not be any data will be travel on this link. So what we will do here, we can put it out. Switchport mode trunk, switchport trunk encryption. Okay, switchport trunk allowed VLAN. Okay, so now we have the option all VLAN. Okay, a specific VLAN, like if you want to add it, so later on, so we remove anything. So here, like we want to be allow only R4 VLAN or R5 VLAN on this link. So we will just put it out 4, then we can put it out the 5. So here only 4 and 5 VLAN will be travel on this link. Okay, then exit. Then I'll write this. So VLAN. So here we can see only we have the only VLAN one. Okay, but we have allow and all three are belongs for VLAN one. So what I'll do, I'll just create VLAN 4 exit and VLAN 5 exit, and then I'll put it out these interfaces on this particular VLAN interface E0 by 0. Okay, 0 by 0, will be on VLAN C. V0 by 0 will be on the VLAN 4. Interface switchport access switchport access VLAN 4. So this is now the part of VLAN 4, and the other port that we have on the switch E0 by 1 interface E0 by 1 switchport mode. This is the access port. This is port access VLAN. This is the VLAN 5. Okay. Now let's see. So VLAN C. The VLAN 1, which is 0 by 2, 0 by 2. Okay. This is belongs for default VLAN 1, VLAN 4, E00, and VLAN 5, that is E0 by 1. So these two port, that is part of VLAN 4 and 5. Now let's see for what is the status for the E0 by 3. Okay. So interface is 0 by 3. So this is up and connected. Now we'll see the trunk. So as we have configured the trunk, so interface trunk. Okay. So now here you can see the trunk is enabled on this port. E0 by 3 on mode is on at 02 status trunking native VLAN 1. And what are the VLAN that we have allowed in this port? VLAN 4 and 5. Okay, which is sales and finance. So LAN will not be communicate from that, only VLAN 4 and VLAN 5. Okay, so interface done. So spanning tree that we can check. So E0 by 2, that is in the setting. Okay, therefore the VLAN 1. For VLAN 4, this is this fine. Will later we will discuss on this. So let us form this trunk. So here let's see what is the status. So interface trunk. So there is no configuration for the trunk. So there is no. Let's see the interface. So interface E. So the no config for this. So let us configure the trunk on this interface. It will form button interface E0 by 0 switchport mode trunk. Okay, so still it is showing encapsulation, so let us put it out the encapsulation for switchport trunk encapsulation dot one q ISL or dot whatever that you want, you can just use it. So switchport mode trunk, now the port will become on the trunk, and the same switchport trunk loud VLAN. What are the VLAN that you want to put it? Like we have here 9 and 10. So we can put it out. What are the VLAN that is in that you want? So 9 and 10. Okay, we have to create it. So exit interface VLAN 9 exit interface VLAN 10. Mm, okay. So now let's see for the status. What is the status for the trunk? Earlier it is what are that? It was in this state. Okay, let me show now. So interface trunk. Okay, here we got some alert for that. Input down and then change it up. Okay, so now it become the trunk port. So interface status. Sorry. So interface status. See, now this is the trunk port. Okay, E0 by 0. This is the trunk port. Okay, sorry, I just missed this description. Let me change it. Interface say 0 by 0 description trunk. In the server we have on the E0 by 3. Yes, E0 by 3 description. Let's say here we have connected the server. Okay. So this is all about that how we can configure the trunk port in between two switches. Okay, and then we can just make it the communication between two switches. So let me just go, the basics on the interfaces. To two type of port that we have. Default port is access port, which is the connected to device, and then we'll make it out these devices part of the VLAN. So for communication with the different VLAN, we would require the L3 device. Okay, and for two switches that we have, like to communicate two switches with the multiple VLAN, so here we have to format the trunk. Okay, so to what trunk will do? Trunk will carry out the multiple VLAN data, but if we just put it out E0 by 300 in the access port, so it will not carry the VLAN tag data. Okay, so the communication will not happen in between. So let me show you some basic PPT on it. So as we know that we assign port to particular VLAN that we did, and how they get associated to broadcast domain. So it means like when we just put it out the VLAN port, so that is the single broadcast domain. So any kind of packet that will not be, just forward towards the VLAN 5 if it is not allowed. Okay, and we can also make a port carry multiple VLAN data that we did. We form the trunk port on that. According to the mode that is assigned to a switch port, it either carries single VLAN data or multiple VLAN data. Yes, for the single VLAN data, we have the connected finance, right? And sales line. For multiple VLAN that we form the trunk on it. So these are the switch port modes that we have. So we have the access port, that was the default port. This is the, so in access port is the port which is assigned to a single VLAN. So we have seen there was the VLAN 1. Okay, so this is the reason why such port carry only the VLANs data to theirs, and that's fine. So by default, all the port are assigned to the VLAN 1. Okay, so now the second port type is that we have trunk ports. So we have configured the trunk port. So such ports can carry multiple VLAN data. They are not assigned to a single VLAN. By default, trunk port carry all VLAN data. Okay, so as we have seen, so there was the command, um, switch port trunk allowed VLAN, then all or whatever the VLAN that you want to communicate on this trunk port, so that we can mention it. Okay, so now we have one question. We When we would want to make a port an access port, the use of access port. Okay, so please just comment it with this answer. We already discussed on it. And the second that we have, when we would want to make a port a trunk port, the use of trunk port. Okay, so please put it on the comment, what is the use of access port and why we use and where we use, and the same way in the trunk port. Okay, so now here we have two things. There are few other switch port mode on the Cisco switches: dynamic auto and dynamic desirable. So this is basically when we are forming the trunk, like we have selected the encapsulation or ISL. So there is mechanism like between syncing for the trunk, dynamic auto, dynamic desirable. So like we can form it whatever that our design or configuration, we can do that. So these are type of the port that we have: access port, trunk port, hybrid port, ether channel port. So basically in hybrid port that can carry both tagged and untagged data. So this is not in use in the like it's very specific platform that we are using this for the. And for ether channel, what we are doing, like we connected switch 1 switch 2 with the single cable, like. Okay, so the throughput that we will have, whatever the port capacity and link capacity, but what we can do, we can connect to a more cable, and then we can put it out on the bundle, so the throughput will be increased. So this is the ether channel. So later on I'll do that video for you, and then explain what are the connectivity, that how we can configure ether channel and what we can do that for that. Okay, so now these are the interfaces that we talk about for the speed. Like the in the fast Ethernet that we have the connector RJ45 connector, 100 Mbps speed that we are getting in the fast Ethernet. So here we have seen fast Ethernet only. So there was the 100 Mbps speed. Like if we connected two cables between two switches, so we would have 200 Mbps. But what we have to do, we should form the ether channel, then we can use at a time a 200 mbps throughput on that. Okay, then we have gig ethernet, so that is 1 gbps, 10 gig, 10 gbps. So all are these interfaces types of switches that we have, nexus switches and higher series of the switches, so we would get it this kind of port on the switches. Okay, so this is all about the interfaces port. So, and now we have the port types on the switches. So those port that we discussed about, that is the for device port. And to access the, like we have more port as well, like we call it management port, span port, so stack ports, uplink ports. So these are the port, like management port, that we are taking out the access for the devices. So those are the management port. Span port, that port that mirror traffic for the packet capturing and analysis that we have on the switches. So this we will not getting on the all the switches. We have some specific model. In stack port, properly ports the stacking is Cisco switches, which is kind of we can just form it two physical switches with the one logical switch, that we forming a stack cable connect, and then we can make it on the switch as a stack. Uplink port, high speed port used to connect the core to distribution layer. So this is all about like uplink. Like in the switches we have the uplink, those uplinks that we are connecting towards the upper layer switches. Okay, so this is the configuration that to make it interface on the particular VLAN. So this we can use, and for the trunk that we can use below the configuration. Okay, it's all about the configuration. Thank you so much.